So today we're going to look into the Pietenpols fuel system and see if we can find a reason, a cause for the engine problems that we were experiencing the other day when we tried to perform the first test flight. So hang on, here we go. So as you know from the last video, the test flight video, I had a little problem with the engine. She kind of got a little sick on us, so we decided to forego any more testing and get it back and start tearing into systems and find out what's going on here. Now, about 6 months ago, we did go through the fuel system and, well, as far as we could from the gasculator up to the engine. We didn't do anything from the header tank back to the main fuel other than put on that Stearman style fuel gauge up there. So, and at the time the fuel was clean. As far as we could tell, I mean, what we drained out was fairly clean. Of course, we had put, I think we had put something like 3 gallons of avgas up in the main tank just to get the fuel to flow down through the header and into the gasculator and up to the engine so that we could start the engine. And it started and it ran fine with no problems. Well, as you know from the last video, the engine started acting up. So we removed the cowling and discovered that the header tank has got a leak. That's got to come out. And during the course of draining the fuel, found a major problem. Okay, this is a sample of the fuel that we drained out. We drained out, well, we shut the main fuel valve off, and the header tank does not have a shut-off on it. So there's about 2 gallons in the header tank, and we drained every bit of that fuel out of the header tank, and every bit of it was amber and smelled like rotten car gas, believe it or not. I don't know how it could possibly be car gas since we put avgas in it. And Chuck Jackson swore up and down that they did not use car gas. But boy, oh boy, that sure smells like rotten car gas. Now, one of our members told Jim that avgas will do the same thing. Well, I've never heard of that, and I'm not saying that it won't, but I've never heard of it coming and smelling like rotten car gas, and that's exactly what this smells like. So with that, I'm thinking, and we're thinking that maybe we've got some gummed up, the carburetor may be gummed up, the jets, maybe the float is sticking from some of that varnish and gum. And I mean, man, I'm telling you, it smells exactly like gummed up, varnished up car gas. Avgas, it doesn't do this, and if it did, over a period of probably years, take years to do that, I imagine. Or, well, who knows? I'm not sure how long it would take, but it certainly wouldn't take 6 months, I don't think. I've seen avgas sit for over 6 months and it was still usable. And I would think that avgas 100 octane would smell a little different when it got bad. But who knows? I've never seen bad avgas, so I'm not an authority on that. So if any of my viewers out there, if you know anything about how avgas will age and possibly varnish up, let me know. Leave me a message and tell me how that works, and what it looks like, and as far as you can, explain how it smells and all of that kind of stuff. But anyway, decided to take that carburetor off and tear into it, go into it. Going to tear the gascolator down, go through that. Of course, there's really nothing to a gascolator, but we do need to clean it. Pull all the fuel lines, clean and blow them out. Possibly, well, that fuel line feels pretty good right there. But some of these, pull these primer lines off, blow them out, clean them up. But that header tank has got to come out. Okay, so here's the header tank, and it's approximately 2-gallon header tank. And as we can see, or maybe not, see if I can get a light up there. You see some seepage of fuel right there. Well, with the main tank turned on and the header tank under pressure, it was weeping fuel all over this little boxed in area here. And it looks like that somebody's welding or brazing or whatever that was right there really didn't take too well. So the header tank has got to come out. All that has got to be ground off. Possibly put that header fill line in another location, because see that fuel line coming up and making a loop right there. That loop goes up about 8 inches, and that's going to be a pretty good little air trap, it looks like to me, especially when you get low on the main fuel tank. And let's say you're just, you're fixing to be running on fumes. Let's say you still got a gallon in the main tank, and it gets to this point and it doesn't have enough head pressure to push it right on through and around. And then once you burn down your header tank, then you're not going to have anything. Well, anyway, that's just a theory. But thinking about maybe putting the fuel fill on the header tank somewhere around here and straighten that line out a little bit, so you don't have that trap right there in the top, as you can see. So that's one of the things we're going to do too. So anybody who has ever worked on a Stormbird carburetor can attest to the fact that when it's on the airplane, it's a bear to get to stuff to work on. It's just tough. Especially these little nuts down here, they're in an awkward position. It's hard to get your wrenches down on that. But persistence will prevail. Save that. Pick that back up. Yeah, I'm kind of suspecting that some helpful soul came in here and put a little car gas in the airplane, unbeknownst to me and Jim. Do that. I don't know how else that car gas could have gotten into it. I don't have any idea. Okay. Pull that fuel line off. And before I leave, we're going to put some tape over that fuel line to keep the little critters out of there until we can pull the thing completely apart, flush it out, and blow it out. And of course, that's going to be it's probably been on there for 15 years, I'm sure. That's going to take a little persuading. Maybe have to get the micrometer after it. And after an appropriate amount of cursing, jiggling, I must have drained back into the gasculator. So after the appropriate amount of cursing, jiggling, frustration, it finally pops off. You know, we might as well go ahead and cap that off while we're here. Believe me, we've got all kinds of bugs and critters and so forth and so on that love to crawl into these little holes. So with that, let's continue with our unhooking of systems. Carburetor heat, Bowden cable, This is a Stromberg. It's an NAS 3A carburetor that most Continental A65s, you'll find them on most of those. Ooh, look at that dirt dauber there. Son of a meal dropped right out of that doggone thing. Look at that. What? That's our carburetor heat. Oh, look how crumbly that is. Son of a gun. Yeah, we're gonna have to replace that. Going to the heat box on. Whoa, that good. Yeah, let's say that is kind of age worn. Alright. Peel the residual filthiness. Got some dissimilar metal corrosion going on there too, because this has got steel wire running through it. Apparently came in contact with that and we've got some dissimilar metal corrosion happening there. throttle linkage taken off. Don't know how well this is going to show up, but this linkage, there's a 5/16 fitting there and a 3/8 nut on the back side, which of course is going to be a bear to get to. Alright, here we go. Maybe it will cooperate. Got to remember, I'm going to have to put a brand new lock nut back on there. I would prefer to see a castled nut, but since this particular fitting does not have a drilled hole for a castellated nut, I'm going to have to rely on a locking nut. That didn't even have a nut, a washer on the back side. Pietenpols. Remind me, boys. Put a washer back there and a new fiber nut, locking nut, probably a heat resistant locking nut. Let's get that baby right there taken care of. It's gonna be, let's see, what is that? It's gonna be a 1/2 inch nut, I do believe. Lefty Lucy. I'll take these air filter carburetor heat box. I'll take that off when I get the carburetor off of the airplane. It's just in such a location that I would hate to teach all of my young viewers with delicate ears the fine art of cursor-riskying. Of course, I don't particularly like to go into a cursing fit myself. I try to avoid it at all costs, but sometimes circumstances dictate that a man throw a conniption fit. Hopefully that will show up. First things first though, let's take that little primer line off. And it'd be nice if I could see it. Hardly see what I'm doing, boys. Pietenpols. You'd think that I need a new pair of glasses, and it probably wouldn't hurt if I did. While we're thinking about that, let's take that off. Of course, all of these lines are going to be cleaned out, flushed and blown out. Okay. Now onward and upwards. Let's get that carburetor off of that engine. And as we see, pulling a Stromberg carburetor It's not a 15-minute job. These doggone things are, I mean, these nuts up here are in a tight place, especially this one back here. You've got to pull the mixture control arm, spring, and cap off to even get to that. This one won't be too difficult, but you see this one has already bottomed out, and we have to move the carburetor down a little bit to get that nut the rest of the way off. Of course, I guess if you wanted to, you could pull all of the intake tubes off and just pull the take that nut off and this nut off and pull the spider down with the carburetor. And then take it off and then undo everything, but it's just another step. It'd be easier to get the carburetor off that way, but then you're still going to spend time on the bench taking it apart. Just might be able to get to things a little bit easier on the bench. Let's expedite this. I won't do the whole thing on camera. And our Stromberg Carburinski almost ready. Let's see what that. It's almost ready to come off. Gotta get this. Okay, I see it. Don't see a washer. So it didn't have a washer on it. Now, supposedly, to get to the bottom end of that fuel line to the header tank, this plate simply comes off, hopefully. It gives us some working room to undo the fuel line down there. I don't know that I could get in that front. I know I can get to the front cockpit, but I don't know if I could actually bend over and squeeze myself up in there enough to work on it. It's pretty tight up in there. Considering my continuing worsening scoliosis, I don't think that would be real helpful. And okay, that gives us access to the fuel line here. The fuel line it doesn't feel too bad. It's not real hard. But it's probably going to take an act of Congress and some judicious cussing to get that thing off. So we can see our gasculator bowl has got all kinds of crud down in it. I don't know what that is. It looks like sand, but I don't know. I've got a magnet here. I'm gonna. I think it's just filth, sand, or something. some kind of debris. Now that wasn't in there 6 months ago when we cleaned it. So we've got to flush that fuel system. So we'll label that little Kabarovsky right there and plug it up. We'll plug up the spider, hole on the spider. Now, if we can get that header tank out, and another thing is I wanted to pull the spark plugs and take a look at them. I don't think we did that the last time. We may have, but you know, I do not recall. I guess I could stick my head. Looks straightforward enough. So we'll just pull the header tank and see what we got. You know, I was just looking up in the throat of that spider, and this primer spray nozzle looks like it's gummed up pretty bad, so I'm going to pull it. Probably soak it in a little Berryman's. Well, that foul, gummed up, varnished up gasoline messes up everything. I don't know if you can see that. Oh, that's looking pretty gummed up in and of itself. Let's see. Boy, that thing is looking pretty foul. So we'll give that one the old scrubber-rinsky. Alright, time to try to take that header tank out. And we'll pull the sparkies off. I have to do something about this. It's bolted to the crankcase through bolts. It's no good. You don't want to be loosening those bolts all the time. We're going to have to come up with some kind of better attach than that. Can't hardly even get to it. Some of my meat. Yep, that has got to be fixed. You don't want that crankcase, you know, loosening and just constantly loosening to get the plugs out, then tightening back up. And it's tightened against an aluminum brace. That's no good. You don't want that crankcase to start chafing. Now, given that's only 2 bolts, but let's see. Of course, it's running. Look at that. It's running like it's burning car gas. See all that soot running real rich? It's kind of gummed up in there too. I can see some, it kind of looks nasty, gummed up oil or something. Gasoline, half-burned gasoline byproduct in there. Yeah, I want to get a bar scope down in those cylinders. Take a look. See what's going on in there. Wonder if those oh fuck. Mine was running a little bit cleaner. Okay. If those guides are kind of gummed up a little bit. Well, I'll do the rest of this off camera. Okay, that pretty much took care of everything I wanted to do today. I get all of that fuel system taken care of. I need to get out here and start working through those magnetos. See if anything's going on with them. I want to do a borescope on the cylinders. I want to do a compression check. The oil is good. I know we changed the oil 6 months ago. Might ought to do that again. But we'll get the old girl back in the air.